friends. Welcome to the After Party, a TSF Network podcast. This is a mixtape of purposeful, encouraging, and fun content from across all the shows who are part of the That Sounds Fun network. I'm Annie F. Downs, one of the co-founders of the network.
And I'm Fallon Klug, the Director of Operations here at TSF Network. And just a heads up, throughout this podcast, you'll be hearing from all the amazing people that work at TSF Network. And we'll all take a seat as the host of this podcast to share an episode each day from one of the incredible shows that are part of our podcast network. Today's episode is from our friend Carlos Whittaker. We love him from the Carlos Whittaker Podcast. And today's episode is called Amish Love Stories Aren't Supposed to Be This Scandalous with Leeann Miller.
Okay, I am interested. Yes, we are still in Valentine's Day mode over here. Plus, these episodes are just literally too good not to share. On this episode, Carlos has Leann on to share about her 30-year love story with an Amish man and how it all started, how it's all going. I cannot wait to hear it.
This episode is so sweet and I loved it so much. Can't wait for y'all to hear it. So go take a listen.
19. We're at episode 19 of the Human Hope Podcast. This is a miracle in and of itself. Every single week when I show up here, I'm like, did I do it again? I'm a podcaster. Nobody can say I'm not anymore because I'm 19 weeks into the madness and chaos and what I think is beauty of the Human Hope Podcast. Friends and familia, welcome to another episode with your host, Carlos Enrique Whittaker Guzman Archibald, or Los for short. Let's get to it. Last week, I came to you from Anchorage, Alaska at the Leg Life Studio with my wife, Heather. That was a very popular podcast. Obviously, I'm starting to get it. Put Heather on the show, people show up. Now, I've talked to Heather's management, and she's not available for all the shows. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do some of these alone. But then sometimes she shows up on them for like 30 seconds like she did today. But I promise you this. If you love Heather, you're going to love this woman, our guest on today's show. Before we get to the guest, I want to let you know that I am overwhelmed with gratitude. I can't let more than 90 seconds go by, which is 90 seconds right now on this podcast, without saying thank you so much to you, to the Insta Familia. Now, if you don't follow me on Instagram, then you may not know what happened this week. After the show aired last Thursday, I went on a trip with an organization called Brooklyn to Alaska. And for the last 8 days, I have been documenting my journey in the wilderness, in the middle of no freaking where, Alaska, 8 hours north of Anchorage, in a town called McCarthy and Kennecott, 2 towns, where I went with a bunch of brown and black kids from Brooklyn that have never seen a river. Well, these had, but that's only because they went through this program, Brooklyn to Alaska. The program takes inner city kids, urban kids, and takes them to Alaska so they can find parts of their souls that never existed. And I was there with on the leadership track with kids that have actually been there 3 times already. So they were training these kids to be river guides and ice climbing guides so that when the new group of kids showed up, which actually was yesterday as far as recording this, that had never been to Alaska, they show up and there are river guides and ice guides that look like them, talk like them, sound like them, think like them. It is mind-blowing what this organization is doing. And just so happens that the Insta Familia, when I asked, hey, let's raise some money for them, like they needed $180,000 to build a bunkhouse and like a kitchen, basically to clear the land and build a place for base camp to operate. I still can't believe I'm going to say this. I said, hey guys, it's $180,000. I was thinking, and I almost said it, let's raise 50. Because I thought, you know what? I think my people can raise $50,000 for this thing. I think they can. But guess what? You, in 24 hours, raised $255,000. I don't even know what to say. $255 freaking $1,000? A normal year operating expense for the nonprofit Brooklyn to Alaska is a little over $100,000. That's for all the administration. That's for all the travel. That's for all the gear. That's for all the guides. That's for everything to run the program because they do it on pennies. We raised enough money for this nonprofit to function for 2.5 years. And I'll tell you what, I haven't checked yet, but I guarantee you that a couple $10,000 or so more have been donated. $250,000 from people that I guarantee you vote on different sides of the aisle, from people that have different religions, from people that may not see eye to eye on things, but they do see eye to eye on the important things. And that's what I'm here to tell you, that humanity is not as broken as we think, that there is hope for humanity because I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it. It can happen. And it did. $255,000, $250,000, 24 hours. We completely built the bunkhouse. We paid for every last nail and screw that's going to go in that bunkhouse and for a lot more. They're going to be able to bring more kids now. I'm blown away. My mind's blown. So talk about giving you some hope at the beginning. Just my Instagram, right? Just the people that follow me. I didn't have anyone help me. Like it was just you guys. Now you guys helped me. You guys were sharing it with your friends, but like I didn't like pay for a Facebook ad for this. No, this was just people that saw me, boots on the ground with an organization and said, "We're there. I am there to help," and you did it. It was amazing. Our whole trip to Alaska was amazing. I'm actually recording this from Worcester, Ohio. We flew on a red eye from Anchorage last night. And here we are. So I was actually in Alaska for 17 days. And I'm now in Ohio for 2 days. We picked up our brand new puppy. Rome is his name. Our last, almost cried. Our last dog, Pope, unexpectedly passed away 3 months ago. And our hearts have been, maybe 4 months ago, have been shattered in a million pieces. And we got our brand new baby Bernese Mountain Dog, Rome. Pope, Rome. Yep. There's a little bit of tomato there. And he is beautiful. Go on to my Instagram, @LowSwit, if you want to see all the slow motion videos of him running around like a puppy and capturing all of our hearts. So we got a puppy, but guess what? The rest of my family and my wife who came home with me from Alaska, they go home tomorrow. I fly to San Diego for the next 5 days, and then I will be home. That will put me away for a grand total of 25 straight days from home. It's too much. That's too much. People ask me, how do you do it all the time? I'm like, barely. That's how I do it. I barely do it. I'm ready to be home for a little bit. But it has been a life-changing trip. Brooklyn to Alaska was amazing. I took my family. I talked a little bit about that last week. It was awesome. And thank you guys for coming along the journey with me. So let's get into today's show. I have no idea why I didn't think of this sooner. Now, let me be honest. I had something else planned. I always do. This is just me. Squirrel. And when we were sitting with Leann, we're sitting with a friend of mine, Leeann Miller, here in Worcester, not Pennsylvania, Ohio. And she's in Amish country. That's where she lives. Her husband is former Amish. He looks Amish to me. He looks present Amish, but he's former Amish. And I know he's former Amish because he lives in one of the slickest, coolest houses that has electricity in Worcester. Now, we're in Amish country. There's lots of Amish around. He's former Amish. His entire family still lives here. And I'm like, Leann, so, I don't know why I've never asked her, but I was like, so, how'd you end up marrying an Amish guy? Were you Amish? She's like, no, I wasn't Amish. I was like, you weren't? She's like, no. I was, I met him at 20, 21. I can't remember how old she was exactly. She is. I met him. Him and his dad came to fix a fireplace at my parents' house. And I saw him and I said, I'm going to marry that guy. I was like, oh, whatever. Cute story. So we kept having dinner and she's like, no. And then 28 days later, we were married. I was like, insert break, squealing sound. Excuse me? She said, yeah. I said, you're telling me you met this guy and married him in 28 days? She said, absolutely. I said, that's a love story. I said, how long have you guys been married? She goes, 30 years. I said, hey, you know what? Human Hope Podcast episode. What episode are we on? 19. I know I had something else planned, but I'm in your living room right now. And so guess what? I pulled out my phone. She's cooking us breakfast while she's telling me the story. I said, can you just tell us the story? So I started recording on my phone and I started thinking this is going to be horrible audio, but it actually turned out pretty good. And then I sat her down at the table during breakfast and started asking her, and friends, this conversation is the Human Hope Podcast conversation this week. You guys are going to be, if there's anything that ever tugs on your heartstrings, it's this, because what I love about Leann and Daryl's relationship, he's former Amish, but there's so much, people throw so much shade at the Amish, right? Because we don't understand how and why they live like that. No electricity, horse and buggy, like what the heck? But here is this girl that's not Amish that falls in love with an Amish boy. 28 days later, they're married. His family dynamic with her, how they loved her, how she loved them back, what love actually looks like, why we're missing sacrifice in the love that we have today. Like, there were all sorts of themes that came out of this conversation. And so honestly, I didn't know at the beginning if it would work, but by the time we cried, I don't know, 7 times during the conversation, this is a love story that is going to teach us all how to love better. And I'm not talking about, you can be single and learn how to love better listening to Leann and Daryl's story. It's a love story like no other. So I figured, let's do it. So, friends and familia, I invited Leann onto the show. She's going to tell you her story, and you are going to be moved to love even better. Sit back and enjoy our conversation with Leeann Miller, and let's learn what true love really looks like.
Okay, so I'm back from Alaska, and we're in our friend Leann's kitchen. Leann lives in Worcester. I said it right.
You said it right.
Ohio. And she's cooking all of his breakfast. And she was telling me about just her fascinating life. And I had something else planned for That Was Toast, the podcast this week. But I thought, no, like, who else would not want to hear about a young woman who fell in love with an Amish man, and that's all I know of the story. But I know there's so much more. It gets dicey. So I'm just going to ask her story. First of all, introduce yourself and tell the podcast listeners who you are, what you do, because a lot of people follow you on Instagram right now, not because you married an Amish man.
My name is Leeann Miller. I live in Amish country.
Yeah.
And I met, dated, and married my Amish-raised husband in 28 days.
What? Wait.
What?
You met and married him in 28 days?
28 days.
This is amazing. Okay.
28 days.
Okay.
We do not recommend this dating system.
She is actually handing my daughter breakfast, my 17-year-old daughter breakfast, as her boyfriend is in the house.
That's my new goal.
No goals, babe. You're already past the 28 days. Okay.
Whenever people talk about a short courtship,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, that was fast. And they're like, who are you to say a thing?
Okay, so keep going, and don't let me stop you from cooking.
Okay,
She's moving around the kitchen. She's doing things. Okay, so just what do you do? Like,
Okay, so we owned an inn in Amish country and in a kind of a touristy area, right? So we owned an inn. My husband was raised Amish to the 8th grade, was a brick mason. He was a mason and concrete guy by trade. And
now, real quick, raised Amish.
Raised Amish.
Can you?
Like, he was Amish until, like, I mean, his family's still Amish.
Oh, yeah. Like, I met him. He was wearing his Amish breeches.
Okay, so-
I still have the Amish breeches he was wearing.
I'm going to assume that a lot of people, they don't even know what Amish means. They just think that people have beards and they wear hats and they live in the country.
Yeah.
But
True.
is it a religion? Is it a?
It's a culture and a religion. My father-in-law would say that it is a culture that is faith-based. Like they believe and live the way they live based on what their faith tells them.
And is it like a Christian thing? Is it a Bible thing?
Yes.
So it's okay.
Like Christians we would call it salvation, right? Like people have a salvation experience.
Yeah.
Amish people would call it like a new birth.
Oh.
Or, like just being kind of baptized in the faith or a new birth.
Okay. And their living this way is part of the religion?
Yes. So Daryl, his father is a bishop, still a bishop. Amish beard, long silver Amish beard. His mother, of course, is just full on Amish. They have a horse and buggy.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like they're the real.
They are.
The real thing, right?
Wow. Okay. So, we'll get to Daryl and your story with him in a minute. What's your thing? You're on you're cooking on Fox TV.
Yes.
You're like. Tell us a little bit about
I do cooking segments on Fox affiliates here in Ohio.
Okay.
And that happened because we had a producer from the Food Network stay at our inn, and she said, you need to be doing stuff on television. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen in the middle of Amish country. And she goes, oh, yeah, it can happen.
That's awesome.
And so she just kind of connected me and guided me, and so I do segments on Fox affiliates here in Ohio.
Cooking one. And I'm eating your breakfast. If you can't hear, my mouth is completely full right now. It's amazing. So... Okay, so then I basically want to go back to the beginning. So hang on 1 second, babe. You love Amish country. You have a strong pull towards Amishness. Why?
Because it's just simple. That's why I loved COVID, because it was just simple. It was like feed your family, hang out, clean a closet, grow a garden.
Yeah. So that's what it is.
Make sourdough bread.
Yeah,
like slow living.
Slow living.
Well, because you had a
Busy
friend.
living, but slow.
You had a friend in Etheridge, Tennessee. Tell us really quickly about this Amish friend that you
Etheridge, Tennessee is a community in Nashville that all the kids love to go to and get treats from. But
have the boyfriends been to Etheridge yet?
Brady has. No, it has not.
Okay.
Sorry.
Noah, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that hurts.
Okay. We'll remedy that.
But I met a guy there who made some benches for me, and we just began a friendship where
he would write you letters?
I asked him to be a pen pal, and he would literally, it was so cute, Leann, like he would write a day out. I was like, I would love to know what your normal day would look like. Will you for a week tell me like what your schedule is, whatever.
So much.
Every single morning. Woke up at 5 p.m. Stoked the fire. 5 a.m. Stoked the fire for Annie. Put a pot of coffee on. Put some wood in the fire. Left at 6:02. Went in and like, okay, so that was one day. He wrote in detail.
Like Monday. He said Monday. And then the next day was his Tuesday.
Woke up at, and it like listed the exact same thing. Like maybe in the afternoon there was like one other like shift in his day, but it literally, and then he listed it every single day. It was the cutest thing ever. But anyways, ended up getting a handful of furniture, and Santa's directing me over there because I'm knocking on the table. Handful of furniture from him, and eventually he did pass, which is so sad.
Over the course of years, though, you were...
Oh, yeah, we were friends for like 6 years, 8 years, something like that.
He would kind of pick on you and make fun of you when you'd show up.
He was feisty. It was so fun.
But you would say simple.
Yes.
Is simplicity is what draws you to like wanting to drive there.
Because there's no like distraction. There's no internet. There's no TV.
There's no podcast.
No podcast that we have to do while we're sitting talking to a friend. There's no... Yeah. Although I do like hair products, like a blow dryer and curling iron.
So you could never be honest.
And deodorant.
Truly. Yeah.
And but there are different orders of Amish,
correct.
and so some orders
we're gonna get into that.
Like Daryl said that his family wore deodorant, whereas
some don't.
Really? Oh, okay. I can't wait to get into this. Okay, thanks for that aside, Heather. I don't know anything about Amish. Like I don't. Like there's reality shows that are fake that make you think that you know Amish, and that's it, you know. And then like every time we drive through Pennsylvania or through Ohio, like you see them in a buggy, but it's so mysterious to me.
Right.
Did you grow up here around Amish? Was your family Amish?
Well, no, we were not Amish at all. But every day after kindergarten, I got off the school bus at my Amish neighbors, and I had a total crush on their oldest son, Ivan, who now doesn't have any teeth in his head. But but I was in love with just their house. They just, everything does move at a steady pace, a slower pace, but an intentional pace. I think that's one thing.
Slow but intentional.
That's one thing I love about my husband, and I try to talk about him without getting emotional. But my husband is very
no, please get emotional. It's very. You're already crying, so this is good.
My husband's super aware, and he's super intentional, and he's meaningful. Yeah. So I think when you're not raised that way, and you have somebody come into your life who's that. Yeah. So my husband's always thinking about, ways he can love me well without having to say a bunch of things. Yeah. Like we really work well together because I'm a 7 on the Enneagram, and I'm very like, la 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 la. And he is very not.
No, I don't believe this at all.
In fact, people are intrigued by our relationship because he's very quiet. But he's exactly what my life needed then and what it needs now.
Yeah. Let's go back to Ivan for a second.
Okay.
Let's go.
That's when I fell in love with the Amish way.
Amish way. You were getting off the school bus every day and you were seeing this house and you were kind of seeing.
Yes. They would have things like homemade lemonade or spring tea and they had a spring house. So they'd say, you want to go with your bare feet into the spring house? And
what's a spring house?
It's kind of back then it was their version of like refrigeration a lot of times.
Really?
A fresh spring. I could actually drive you by Ivan's home place because he's so and show you the spring house because it's still there. Yes. I drove by there not long ago.
Will they still invite you in with bare feet into their spring house?
They would, yeah. Amazing. And so I think that probably this is the first time I've actually put this together, that the importance I felt as a person, even in kindergarten, I felt really important in their house. Wow. I felt very, very looked at and seen, and I think that is how I've tried to operate our home. Yeah. I want everyone that comes here to feel very seen.
So you would say that that's a part of the Amish culture is to see you.
Yes, and yourself, to see yourself
and to see yourself.
See others.
Very intentional.
Very, very. And in fact, if you would ask Daryl if he was sitting here what he misses most about Amish culture, he would say the sense of community. Wow. We had a tornado go through our neighborhood, and within 20 minutes I couldn't count all the bicycles there. Because people knew that the barn roof had blown off and a tree had went through their house, and literally people just came to help. They
didn't get on Facebook on the community board and have to tweet out.
No, there was no GoFundMe. There was no GoFundMe. No, people showed up and started helping immediately. Wow. So there is a true sense of sitting with you and walking with you, and a true sense of just being there.
Well, no, it sounds to me like it's a true sense of this is quite possibly the way it's supposed to be.
Right. And I will say quickly that not every Amish person's like that, right?
Right.
Because people are people. Yeah. I mean, but I think for the most part, it's about community. It's about, being just a better you. And a more intentional you. Yeah.
So kindergarten Leann is getting off the school bus, fascinated by his house and his family.
Yes.
Really just kind of taken aback as to, this is different. This feels different.
Yeah. I feel like somebody has lemonade waiting for me and is just being very intentional.
And your parents are not, you're not Amish at all. There's nothing
not
Amish.
Amish at all.
Nothing
so fast forward then to the summer of my 4th grade year.
Let's go.
We pack up and my father says, I want to go to seminary. We pack up and we go to Lynchburg, Virginia. Okay. And my father goes to Liberty University Seminary, becomes a marriage and family counselor and pastor. And, our life changes dramatically from 4th grade to my senior year of high school. We moved back to Amish country my senior year of high school.
Okay, so 4th grade through your senior year of high school, you are in Virginia. There's no Amish around.
There's no Amish around.
There's no Amish around.
No.
You've kind of, is there any longing for that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Totally. And we're in the South.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of, I don't want to say this. There's a lot of seeming kindness.
Yeah.
But sometimes underneath that, that's that it's really about politeness, and it's not, it was just a completely different culture.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Southern hospitality is amazing and Southern people are amazing, but it was a completely different shift from being in the country in Ohio around Amish people and Amish neighbors. Completely different.
So you moved to Virginia and then you moved back.
We moved back.
Here.
And I go my senior year to a public high school.
Okay.
And my senior year, and then I go to college in South Florida.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be, I want to go somewhere just different.
Yeah.
And then after college, I worked in corporate world for about a year and a half.
Okay.
This is where it gets fun with Daryl. So I get...
So hold on. Daryl is...
At this point, Daryl is in Rumspringa.
Okay.
Daryl's partying and wild. Daryl, Rumspringa is like sowing their wild oats. So teenagers.
Oh wait, that's not a city.
I wish Daryl was here.
I totally thought that Rumspringa was like, oh, he moved to Rumspringa.
No.
Oh, okay. See, this is. I am every listener.
Oh my gosh.
So rump shaker. What is it?
No, Rumspringa. So he was in like what we would call his wild teen years, right?
Okay.
It's actually like,
but it's a different. It's they kind of parents kind of just.
And this is an Amish culture.
Yes, Amish culture. They're kind of given over to like if you want to drive a car, if you're especially boys, if a teenage boy wants to go out and get his license and get a car or get a vehicle, you can do that. They go to parties, they have field parties, lots of drinking.
Amish teens.
Oh,
really?
Oh yeah.
And this is a thing in Amish.
It's a thing. Wow. It's definitely a thing. So Daryl was a little bit of a wild man.
Was he really?
Wild boy.
Okay.
Yeah, you never know it now, but he was. And
Daryl.
Yeah, Daryl. Daryl, I know. Yeah.
Okay, so he's in Rumspringa.
I work in an office like in Orlando, Florida for a year and a half, and I decide my parents have a restaurant, so summers are always busy because it's tourist time. So my mom said, why don't you come home for the summer and help with the restaurant and then decide if you want to continue. Because I knew the office environment, corporate environment was not for me. So I came back and I worked this summer. This is the part the girls are going to love. I worked this summer as a waitress at my family's restaurant.
Which was called?
The Homestead Restaurant in Charm.
The Homestead Restaurant in Charm.
Yep. In Charm, Ohio. That's a real place, Charm.
Okay.
So then fall comes, and September and October are the busiest months for Amish country. And so in November, my mom wanted to build a fireplace at her house for Thanksgiving because everybody was going to come. So my mom knew of this crew of Amish boys.
Yes. Were these Amish boys rumstringing?
Yo, they were rumstringing all the way.
Okay.
Now, I was not.
Right.
I was, at this point, 23. I wasn't partying. I wasn't interested in that.
Yeah.
I'd already kind of
had
my own
rumstringer. Yeah.
And so one November day, my mom says to my dad, go over and pick those boys up with their dad to come look and see if they can put a fireplace in before Thanksgiving. Uh-huh. So we had friends over that night. And they had a little girl, and I was playing with the little girl. And so if you ask Daryl about it tonight, he'll tell you he thought that the little girl was my little girl. Oh. So they come, and we don't have a conversation, right? Daryl has...
Do you go pick him up?
Daryl, my dad, went over
Okay.
and picked up his dad and him.
Okay.
Because Daryl's the oldest. He was kind of the foreman of their little crew.
Yep.
And so they come in, and Daryl has his Amish britches on. He's got... Like he comes home from work, you'll see tonight, like dirty, from work.
You say Amish britches. Can you explain to us some
like
people?
Amish pants are homemade, and they don't look like non-Amish pants.
Right.
They don't have a zipper.
Right.
They have a button panel.
Oh, okay.
Like there's it's kind of a square, but 3-sided square.
Okay.
So they button in a panel.
Yes.
So he had those Amish pants on, and I'll never forget. He still does this. He had a toothpick broken in two, and a toothpick on either side of his mouth.
side. That's his.
And
that
he
was
was
his
already
thing.
going gray. He was already going silver. He was 22, and he was already getting this like silver in his
yeah.
hair.
Silver
So
fox.
So I had said hello. We said hello to each other, and that's it. And he left, and I looked at my girlfriend, and I said, I think I'm going to marry that man.
No way.
Stop.
Yeah, oh, yes, I did. And so I had my best friend from college.
Okay, hold on.
Why?
Yeah.
Why did you say that?
Okay,
Like, what?
so my best friend from college, she was the only one that did this, called me up, and she's like, okay. When I told her, I'm getting married. Like, I'm marrying this guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's happening.
Yeah.
She called me up and she goes, okay, I'm not okay with this. And this is when I'm thinking this is gonna happen. She's like, I want you to tell me why you feel this. 'Cause
Yes.
you don't know this guy. You don't know
Because you
him.
told her this after being with him how long? An hour or a couple?
No, maybe 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
He said really nothing. His dad did most of the talking, and I really said nothing.
Okay, so you're with him 30 minutes.
Yes.
His dad does all the talking.
Yes.
They're looking at the fireplace,
Yes.
like they're trying to figure
Yes.
out.
I'm
Within 30
I'm
minutes.
zeroed in.
Yeah, within
I'm
30
like,
minutes, you're like, this is the guy.
This is my man.
My familia, listen to this. You may remember a couple episodes back, I introduced you to Don and Bridget. They're from AIM, Agape International Missions. They're actually changing the world by doing whatever it takes to end child sex trafficking. So AIM is on the ground. They're protecting and they're rescuing kids, like actually rescuing them, like they actually have their own SWAT team. But it doesn't end there because AIM's vision, it goes beyond the rescue. They actually empower the survivors that they've rescued to be free and to live completely free. So this is what I'm going to invite you to do. You are invited to change the world with what AIM calls the Village. It's a community of passionate monthly donors. Now, let me be honest with you guys. A lot of people give one-time gifts to people, but when you become a monthly donor, what it does is it gives AIM the ability to know what they can do in the future. So here's the goal. That 25 of us, that's just 25. There are tens of thousands of you that listen to this. Will 25 of you join the Village by committing to give $10 a month? That is how we, the Hope Dealing Family community, will change someone's story. Rescue, restoration, healing, protection, freedom. This is what you provide when you join the Village. So let's do it. Just give $10 a month. It creates hope. And I know that for most of us, that sacrifice would literally mean giving up a couple of Ladybird tacos or one venti skinny hazelnut latte. It's an invitation to become part of something bigger than ourselves. And literally it changes somebody's world. So join me in the work of freedom by checking out the website aimfree.org/Carlos.
Okay, so what are you telling your girlfriend?
So I say to my girlfriend, I say, you know how, gosh, why am I getting emotional?
Because you knew that you were going to marry him in 30 minutes? That's why you're getting emotional.
You know what? And I love him.
Yes.
Like, you know what?
How long have you been married?
30 years.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know how when you marry somebody or you date somebody and you think they're the greatest person, right?
You're going to make me cry.
And then later you're like, wow, I really didn't know how great.
Yeah.
Like, God knew.
Yeah.
And he knew what I needed.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how great he
Yeah.
was. Like, when people say they married up, like, I married a man who is my person.
Yeah.
So the way I explained it to Darla is, you know how when you think of a person but you don't have a face, you just kind of have a silhouette
Yeah.
of an image.
Yeah.
And then when I saw him, he those paper mache, those paper dolls that you get when you're little, the it's kind of like a coloring book, and there's an outline, and then you get to punch out the thing and put the picture on the outline. That's how it was. Like that person, that picture it matched the silhouette of my prayer.
Yeah.
Like I knew.
Wow.
Like I knew.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so you tell her this and she's like, okay.
Yeah. She said, all right, that makes sense to me. Like he fit that outline, like him. He just went, that's the guy. So then fast forward 2 days, because that was a Friday.
Because hold on, I don't want to fast forward too much because it's only took 28 days. Right. So let's not fast forward 2 days. Can we just fast forward that night? So that night he leaves. In your head, you're just like,
I'm marrying him. That's the person.
Do you tell your parents this? Do you tell?
Yeah, I told my girlfriend sitting next to me as soon as he left the room. I was like, as soon as he left the house, I think I'm marrying that man.
Yeah.
So then I had to get a plan.
Okay, so tell us the plan of action.
It involved this cup.
Okay.
Right here. That right there.
There it is.
That's the cup.
Boom. That's a great lens. Okay.
So I, the Gap was very popular back in 1991.
The Gap?
So the Gap. Okay. And so I had my little peg leg Gap jeans and an oversized flannel shirt. And I got up at 5:30 because they get to their work site. He still gets to the work site between 6:30 and 7. So I'm like, I gotta put my best foot forward here. So I get cinnamon rolls and I make coffee. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna serve him this coffee in this heart mug. Clearly he'll be like, he'll know.
And so tell me, where are you going to give this to him?
So he comes to do the fireplace at my parents' house.
At the house, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. I'm thinking restaurant, but you're not at the restaurant serving.
It's happening. So I'm like, I'm sticking around this whole job. I'm going to serve him coffee out of a heart mug. Surely he's going to know. Yeah. And then it just so happened, and this is the truth. This was not staged at all.
Yeah.
The wrong fireplace logs came for the fireplace. So I'm this whole time I'm like, I'm going to marry this man.
Yeah.
And the wrong fireplace logs come. And my mom says, why don't you take Daryl to the fireplace store to get the right logs? And it was like an hour and 15 minutes away. I'm like, okay. So then that's when.
Okay. Have you had a conversation yet with Daryl?
Not very well. I've had a conversation. He hasn't.
He hasn't said a word. Okay.
No, he hasn't said a whole lot.
Okay.
And then the first movie that we saw. So then on the way to get the fireplace logs, Dances with Wolves. Remember that movie?
Yes. Oh yeah, Kevin Costner.
That movie came out, and I said, "Have you seen that movie yet?" And he said, "No." I said, "We should see that movie."
You were.
I was. Yes.
You were running this show.
Zeroed in. He's like, and he's like, okay. And I'm like, okay. So we go on our first date, right?
So hold on, wait. Do you go get? Sorry, I'm the super story dragger outer. You go get these logs.
Yeah, we go get these logs, and I'm like. He doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know it yet, but I'm marrying him.
Hey, Sandy, you have a question.
Are they allowed to go out and see movies with other people?
Well, remember, he's kind of in Rumspringa right now.
Oh,
he's a little wild.
He's in his wild time.
So I had 2 different couples come to me and say, now, you know that he's wilded up. I'm like, no, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
No, he's my head. He's fine. He's going to be fine.
and so again, let me be Leann and you be Daryl with the reaction. So, hey, have you seen Dancing with Wolves? Do you want to go see that movie with me? What was his response?
Yeah.
I love it.
It still would be.
Yeah.
I mean, you've met him.
I know, I've met him. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's a yeah. Okay, so keep going.
So we see the movie. Well, we go on our first date, right? And we're going down the road.
When you say first date, did you create this first date?
Oh, absolutely. I created our wedding idea.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So I said,
and the mug.
That just every morning, man. I have it, and it's going to him. And the hearts are subliminal.
Yes.
Like I love you. I'm gonna marry you.
Yes.
It says heartstrings on the inside.
Yes. Yeah. And you're giving him that mug every day.
Every day, black coffee. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're on this. We're on our way, and I'll never forget.
And he knows it's a date.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I think so. I think he knew that I was smitten. So I say to him, you don't talk very much, do you? Because I'm just talking to him. And he does this thing, and he still does it. Back then, I used to think it was because, his first language is Pennsylvania Dutch. So I kind of thought, well, maybe he's kind of translating before he talks.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what's Pennsylvania Dutch?
Oh, their dialect. Like
what Amish?
It's really kind of a dialect or a slang of German.
Okay.
So some of Pennsylvania Dutch will sound like German, the language German, like the German language.
Okay.
So I said, you don't talk very much, do you? And he does what I call the Daryl pause, where he pauses for like 2 or 3 beats. Like even like notice it tonight. Like if you ask him a question, you think to yourself, is this guy going to answer the question?
Is he annoyed at my question?
Yes. But he's just thoughtful in in the way he communicates. Yeah. So I said, you don't talk very much, do you? And it was like, beat, beat, beat. It used to kind of unnerve me, but now I love it. And he said, well, if I liked to talk as much as you did, we'd have a problem. And I'm like, and now I'm really in love with this man. I'm going to marry him. So then we date maybe 11, 12 days. And this is back.
Okay, wait, stop.
We see each other every day.
You keep saying things that need more of an explanation.
Okay, so do you know, like the younger generation call it talking now. They say they're talking to someone.
Yeah.
Okay, but we didn't have like the same modern conveniences. So we saw each other every day because he was at the job site. So we saw each other every day, and then we would see each other in the evening. He'd come over, or we'd meet out somewhere, and so we would see each other every day. So one day I say to him like, so where do you see this going? Like,
what this is day 6 of
No, this is day 11.
Oh, day 11.
This is like day 11.
Oh man, we're way down the line now.
We're like way there. We're like we're antiquated.
You guys.
So I'm like, so where do you see this going? And he's like, well, I mean, marriage. And I'm like, okay, so
day 11.
So imagine like, so he's got his parents, who his dad's an Amish bishop, aren't really thrilled, right, with him dating a girl who's not Amish. Yeah. So his dad had already had a conversation with him already, because about dating me, and he said this sentence.
The dad says this sentence to
Daryl, and Daryl tells me, and he says, as long as you date her, we are going to discourage it, and we aren't going to be okay with it. But if you marry her, we will accept it. So I said to him, okay, if you're thinking marriage and I'm thinking marriage, why would we draw this out? Like, why would we put your family through that? Why would we put ourselves through that?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what are you thinking? I said, let's elope.
So at day 11, you say this?
Yes. He doesn't have a passport. He's never been on an airplane. So I say, let's elope. And he's like, all right, where? And I said, let's go to Switzerland. I said, let's go to Switzerland. Let's elope in Switzerland.
0 ideas.
And he's like, all right. I mean, he's just like, okay. So I go to, what's that popular clothes? Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, yeah.
You were going to spend some money on your honeymoon outfit.
And I got matching sweatshirts. Yes, mine was gray and his was blue. Yes. And there were horsemen on the front of it. Stop. And I thought, this will be our travel outfit to Switzerland.
At day 11.
Day 11, I say this. Okay. And he doesn't have a passport. And back then, you could just go to the courthouse and get a passport. Yeah. So he had to get his birth certificate. Like, we had to go through a thing. So he gets his birth certificate, goes to the courthouse, gets a passport. And my dad knew someone who lived in Switzerland, and he called him and asked. There was a chapel there that I had fallen in love with because I'd been to Switzerland before, and had taken pictures of myself alone outside this chapel. And I thought, I want to get married in that chapel. And so my dad calls his friend, and he said, I ski with the pastor of that church.
Okay, so let's pause it. I ski with the pastor of that church. Your dad is helping you elope.
Yes. He's a marriage family counselor.
Your dad's a marriage and family counselor.
And he's still okay with all this.
And you're day 11.
Oh, yeah. My mom and dad then later divorced after that.
Okay.
But that's a whole other
sure. We'll stick to the love story for right now. So you're telling your parents day 11, I'm marrying this guy. Mm-hmm. They're like, sweet.
We're eloping. Are you in or not? Like, we're doing this.
But he's not telling his parents this.
No.
Okay.
He wrote his
wait, okay, wait, let's not get there. So you're like, Dad, I want to get married at this chapel in Switzerland. Yes. And he's like, let me call Terry, who skis with the pastor.
Yeah.
Keep going. So he
and
calls.
the pastor of this church says, "Oh, we would love it if someone would get." I said, "I want to get married on Christmas Day," and he says, "Well, I would love it. We would love it if somebody got married at our church on Christmas Day." And so we were like, "All right, let's buy the plane tickets. Let's do this."
So we're talking. We're in December right now. You guys are dating.
Yeah, December. Yeah, and so we get his passport. We book the tickets, and I was telling the girls that this sweet older gentleman, probably in his 80s, was tolling the bells for me to come to the wedding. And I didn't realize he was going to toll them until I got there, and I was 7 minutes late to the wedding.
Okay, hold on. Sorry. This is me again. We got to get to Switzerland.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah.
So
get on the plane.
When did you guys get on the plane? How did he have to sneak out of Amish Town? Did he have to like what tell me about
pretty much
about that. So his parents are still like, you're dating, you guys are dating.
Yeah. So he packs a bag.
Yes.
And he leaves a note.
And he leaves a note. And what does he say in this note?
It's he's never really told me exactly what it said, but I'm sure short and sweet because he doesn't even like to sign his name. Okay. So it's probably 2 sentences like, "Mom and Dad, I'm eloping. I'm going to Switzerland. I'm marrying Leann. And I'll be back.
And I'll be back.
And I'll be back. And I'll be back on this date or whatever."
Yep. Okay. So then you guys go to the airport.
So we go to the airport, get on the plane. He's not been in an airport or on a plane, and we fly to Switzerland.
And how many days after you met him is this?
Well, it was 28 days from the time I met him until we got married. Uh-huh. So this is probably day... What, that we flew?
Yeah, that you flew.
Oh, this is probably day 25.
Okay.
Because we were in Switzerland, I think, December 22nd.
Yeah, okay.
23rd.
So you fly, you land there. This is happening.
This is happening. Oh, yeah. I'm marrying him.
You're married? Oh, duh.
I am mothering his children.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So let's get to the bells.
Yeah, so he's tolling the bells until I get there. I couldn't get my eyelashes right. And so I was like 7 minutes late, and this poor man is like tolling the bells waiting for me to get there. And my dad is ordained, so he marries us. And
Your dad?
My dad is ordained also, so my dad marries us.
He goes to Switzerland with you?
Yes. Mm-hmm. My mom and dad go to Switzerland with us.
Okay.
And we get married, and we take pictures in the same place that I stood before.
No way.
And
do you have those pictures?
Oh yeah, I have those pictures. Oh,
there's one.
Yeah, there's one. There. Yeah. There. Oh wait, go up in our bedroom. On that table where the plant is, and get that picture. That's our wedding day.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I have my sweat. I have actually. Where is? Oh, it's in the closet where you two are staying. Okay. I have our wedding outfits.
Stop.
Your wedding outfits. What did you wear?
I wore a sweater outfit. Oh, it's so pretty. I wore a sweater outfit, and Daryl wore a pair of like kind of green khakis and a paisley shirt with like a three.
Worn anything
No.
Come put it to the camera so that the camera can see it.
Oh, the camera's upside. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
There's no
It's glaring a little bit there.
Look at you guys. 28 days.
28 days. And right after we got married, like probably 2 hours after we got married, it started snowing. These snowflakes. I'm not kidding. It was like a fairy tale. Yeah. Like these big fat snowflakes. And somebody in town said, "You should go toboggan." They take a big bus up the top of this mountain, and you can toboggan all the way down. And so we did that on our wedding day. It was just so cute. So great.
The socks that you were wearing.
Oh, I know. The shoes. Yep.
Okay, so
we come back.
So you come back. And is he nervous to see his parents?
Oh, we're both nervous.
Okay, you're both nervous.
Yeah, we're both nervous. And so he goes to watch.
Because does he call them from Switzerland?
No.
Okay. I guess they don't have a phone.
No. Still don't.
Yeah, still
don't. So we get back, and I am in the kitchen, and Daryl has gone to wash the car. Yeah. And I hear something, and I think it's Daryl. Yeah. So I stick my head out the breezeway door. Yeah. And it was like it was like a made-up storybook. Yeah. His dad in this big black velvet hat with this long white beard and it's snowing.
No.
So there's snow like swirling around his head, is standing in the window. And I'm like,
this is as you pull up, like as you.
No, I'm in the house by myself. Daryl is not there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So I look out, and there he's standing at the door, and I'm like, oh, he's seen me. He knows I'm here.
Yeah.
So I let him in, and it's my father-in-law.
And now, tell me again, whose house is this?
Where we were living, where Daryl, my apartment that I had, where I was living.
Got it.
Yeah. Because by that point, I'd got my own little apartment. I wasn't living with my parents.
Got it. Okay.
So, well, not even by then. Even when I met Daryl at my parents' house, I wasn't living with my parents.
Got it.
So he comes in, and we just start talking. It was so awkward. I can still remember I was sitting on a bar stool. So he's on a chair like you all are on, and I'm on a bar stool. So I'm kind of up, elevated. And I say to him, I'm just chattering because I'm nervous. And I say to my father-in-law, now this could actually make my cheeks kind of be red because it kind of is embarrassing. So I'm like, so I was telling Daryl the other day, I can still see myself in my mind. I was telling Daryl the other day, I hope you all like me, meaning his mom and dad. Yeah. And he was quiet, and he looked right at me, and he said, like you, we love you. Oh. He said, you're our family now.
Stop.
Yeah. And so then he said, I want to talk to Daryl, because then by then Daryl comes back. He said, I'd like to talk to Daryl privately, and then I would like to talk to both of you. And so I didn't know until probably 5 years after we were married, when I was pregnant with Teddy. I was really pregnant, going to an Amish get-together. My mother-in-law said, do you want me to make you something to wear? Because I didn't have anything. Literally, I was just so pregnant. It was in January, and our son was born in January. That's how pregnant I was.
Yeah.
And so she made me this sweet, like, homemade denim-type jumper.
Yeah.
But when Daryl's dad talked to me, he said...
When he talked to you back...
Yeah, 5 years prior.
5 years prior, okay.
So 5 years prior, when Daryl's dad's talking to me, he says, I'm going to ask a few things of you, as we go forward as a family, that when you come to get-togethers, that, then I had the long acrylic nails, and I had big hair, big bangs, long 90s. Curly hair. Yeah. And he said, I'm going to ask that you dress plain, and that you pull your hair up, and that you don't, wear a lot of makeup, and that you don't have, bright nails. And I'm just going to ask that you, and my friends at the time, like my girlfriends, were like, he needs to just accept you for who you are. They need to, that's not right that they would ask you to do that. And I'm like, listen, how many places are you asked to go to dress plain, no makeup, pull your hair up?
Yeah.
Like, I love this.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
So I did, and so we're at this get together, and I'm in this jumper that his mom has made me, and we're playing dominoes with cousins and aunts and uncles, and there's lots of people there.
Yeah.
Amish get-togethers are big.
Yeah.
And we're just having so much fun. And it was like this light bulb moment. Like, he didn't ask me to do that.
Yeah.
Because my nails were too bright or my lipstick was too bright. He asked me to do that for me. He didn't ask me to do that for them. He asked me to do that for me.
Wow.
Because what it did is I just integrated so easily.
Yeah.
They weren't staring at my nails.
Yeah.
They weren't staring at my nails. Because a lot of Amish kids, don't even, their interaction with non-Amish people is even limited. So I was just so accepted. I mean, not that I wouldn't have been accepted if I would have had makeup on and bright nails. It's not that.
Right.
It's just it made it easier for me. And it made it more comfortable for me.
Yeah.
So... yeah, I have great in-laws.
Wow. I'm blown away.
Yeah.
Tell me this. As we sit in this might be too deep of a question, but you don't have to answer if you don't.
I was going to say, you're going to try to make me cry, Carlos.
No. As we sit in a day and age, and a culture, and a worldview where it is the most individualistic
culture ever seen on planet Earth, the most selfish culture ever seen on planet, and people would probably look at the Amish and go, that is so backwards. That is so, how dare they ask their women to dress plain? How dare, this is the time for women to rise up and for that, and that this is not what's happening. It sounds like what you experienced. Now, this was 25 years ago, okay, or whenever it was. 30 years ago. Talk to me about, because you are a strong, you are a strong, passionate individual, woman. Like you are, like, hear Leann roar. Like you can get things done.
Right.
But there's also, what I'm hearing is there is such not only beauty, but maybe need in what you experience in that Amish culture.
Well, there's sacrifice in love.
Yeah.
I mean, love is not all about getting what we want and having our way and fighting.
Yeah.
I want to walk alongside people, and I want to love people right where they are.
Yeah.
My in-laws just have loved me.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't trying to make me Amish.
Right.
They were just saying, you're our family now, and we love you. And I think we, right now in society, we're fighting, we're pushing.
Yeah.
Instead of opening our arms and saying, let's see how we can love each other. Let's see how we can sacrifice. I think when I think of Daryl and I think of our marriage, Daryl has sacrificed a lot for me, and he's done it with such manliness.
Yeah.
It hasn't been weak. He hasn't gotten everything he has wanted.
Yeah.
But he's just loved me in a way that's like giving, like where, something I see now that I wish I could just take a wand and change is that we need to love each other.
Yeah.
And that sounds so cliche, but loving each other sometimes requires sacrifice, even of our own will and our own opinion.
Yeah.
And Daryl's put up with a great deal from my family, from my nuclear family. That when I say Daryl sacrificed, he's sacrificed in ways that he probably didn't know families acted like that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So he's, that's been a way that he's loved me well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we're missing this element of, sacrifice and love. There's sacrifices you make when you love.
What do people that are listening to this podcast, how can they learn to sacrifice? That is a word that people don't do that anymore. People don't sacrifice anymore. They sacrifice other people at the altar of their opinions, at the altar of. But what I love about what you're saying is, like, you're right. People can say love, and you can simplify that up to whatever it is. But it is actually the word sacrifice, when you brought that in to the definition of love, is what people don't know how to do.
Okay, well, you've sacrificed, because you know what? You've probably sacrificed some opinions of people. You've sacrificed maybe even part of your reputation within evangelical fundamental belief systems, with educating people on race and thinking differently. So that has entailed a sacrifice on your part.
Yeah.
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 So what does that look like? That looks like a path you've walked in this last year.
Right.
It's really a saying, I'm going to put aside some things that I want for myself, or I even think.
Yeah.
For the betterment of another person. So it's saying, I'm going to, like with my own children, they're in their 20s now, they're figuring some things out on their own.
Yeah.
I would like to go into mom roar and tell them what they are and aren't going to do because of the way we've raised them.
Right.
But my love for them says you need to sacrifice that. And you need to allow them to figure it out. And you need to love them right where they are.
Yeah.
And you need to pray for them. Yeah. And you need to be just their mom and sacrifice what you think they should be doing for knowing that when they find out for themselves, it's going to have greater value.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Daryl, one last question about Daryl.
Every time, why? When I talk about him today,
what can people learn about sacrifice if they watched your husband for 10 minutes?
Listening. We all just want to air our opinion and what we think and what we know. Somebody said something about Daryl recently that I thought, wow, that is so true. That has known him for years. And Daryl is a true craftsman. Like, he's really an artist when it comes to trim work and craftsmanship. And he said, I've known your husband several years now, and I've watched him in groups where he could speak up and say, oh, no, that's not right. Or, oh, no, I would do it this way. And he doesn't. Like, he could almost brag about himself, and he doesn't. Like, he is just very humble. Yeah. And he listens. He does a lot of listening. Yeah. When we were talking about a menu, he said, now remember, Sohaila doesn't eat, gluten and red meat and, like, so we should think about, fish or chicken. He's listening. And he's really not missing anything. Yeah. Now, one thing I say about him, and this is true of a lot of Amish people, often we mistake people who are good listeners and their silence for agreement. It doesn't mean if he's being quiet and you're saying something, it doesn't mean he's agreeing with you. Yeah. He's just choosing. Yes. He's sacrificing. Yeah. He's choosing not to get in an argument with someone or not to state an opinion that he thinks isn't necessary.
He's loving by listening.
Yeah. When we had been married about a month, we're driving down the road, and I'm like, so, what's your biggest adjustment to being married? And he's like, well, I don't know, you go first. I'm like, oh, it's definitely being accountable to somebody all the time. Like, if I'm going to be an hour late, if I'm shopping, blah, 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 blah. And I said, so what about you? So waits a minute, goes, electricity. And I'm like, whoa. Like, that, like, stopped me in my tracks. Like, oh, wow. Yeah, he's had an adjustment. And also, I loved that it had nothing to do with you, us, and me. Yeah, it had to do with like his way, like, of life. Yeah, I think also Daryl. Daryl's, when we talk about like adventure and like hear me roar type thing. Sure. If you looked at the both of us, and you would say, who's the most daring? Who's the most adventuresome? Yeah. Some people, because of my personality, would think it would be me. Oh, no way. Like, Daryl would have been on those ice cliffs with you. He would have been down that river. I was showing him some of the river stuff. He goes, oh, yeah, I'd love that. I'm like, no! Like, and that's not me. Like, the bears, like, I knew he would love your Alaska trip with the bears and stuff. He loves the outdoors, and he's way more daring and adventuresome than I am.
That's amazing. Last question. What about your story can people get hope from? Like, give them one last bit of hope for this season that we're in, for maybe a crisis that they're in, for maybe they're stressed out, maybe they've got kids that are that have chosen a different way, maybe they're in people are needing hope in 1,000 different situations that are listening to this. They've just heard a love story that I think my daughters, the boyfriends, myself, my wife, we've all gotten a semblance of hope for love that maybe we didn't even know existed. Can you give one last just little tidbit on hope and maybe where you're pulling some hope from yourself?
Well, I'm a faith-based person,
Yeah.
so I believe in God. And so I would say that I believe in a God that when I ask and I say, I need you to show me some hope.
Yeah.
I need to see that you see me and that you love me and that you care. Like, show me something. And I believe I believe in a God that will do that.
Wow.
And that will honor that. I think Daryl is also a representation of that. That, God brought an Amish boy in my living room that built a fireplace. I tell people we just extended the flame. That built a fireplace in my parents' house and just came. He came into my life, right? Yeah. But I think when we're in the middle of, and we talked about this earlier, like when we're in the middle of crisis or trauma or despair, I think really asking God for hope, like saying, I need to see it. I need to know. Yeah. I need to know that you care about me. Please show me somehow. Yeah. And it could be as simple as, if you're looking, it could be, it might be somebody in Target that walks up and says, something hopeful to you.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, hope is, I think that we die without it.
Yeah. Yes.
All the tears. Man, there ain't nothing better than knowing that somebody loves their spouse like that or loves their other person like that. Leeann Miller, thank you so much. I don't know about you, but I mean, there were so many nuggets of gold wisdom that we unearthed inside of Leann's ethos. And, I think the biggest thing for me at the very end of the day, it's like love really takes sacrifice. And gosh, if there's one thing that I feel like is not happening these days when it comes to love, it's sacrifice. I feel like love, people want to be loved and they want to love without sacrifice. And it's not a complete sense of love. And that story shows sacrifices on all parts. And it was just good, guys. I know that was different. Just had my iPhone recording at the kitchen table, but it just felt right. Maybe I'll do a little bit more of those things. Podcasts, a lot of podcasts are just interviewing people that everybody knows. And I'm like, I want people to know Leann. I want people to know some of my friends that nobody knows. And I'm glad that you guys got to enjoy her story. Make sure that you reach out to Leann on Instagram. Let her know, Leann Miller, Leann Miller on Instagram. She is a fun follow. And I mean, as you can tell, she's wise, she's witty, she's whimsical, and I can't think of another W word to put at the end of those three. But anyway, I am, as of this recording, 5 days away from finally being home. It'll be 25 days, and then I'll finally be home. Maybe I'll have Rome, our puppy, on the next podcast. Friends, this has been a blast. You guys know, when you review the show, okay, I see how many people download and listen to this show. And I see how many people have reviewed the show. All right. So I know that there's a few of you guys that listen every week. A lot of you guys that haven't reviewed it. And I'm just letting you know, it really helps me. It helps the show get in front of a lot of other people. So if you've got 30 seconds, please take the 30 seconds and review, rank, do all the stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is you do that. Make sure you're subscribing, share the show with your grandmama, your great grandmama, and maybe your great aunt too. Get them on the human hope train. There is lots of hope, friends. I'm telling you, it is all around us. We just have to look and find it when we want to see it. So, see you next Thursday. Your host, Carlos Guzman Cabello, saying, make sure you live your life. Don't let your life live you.
All right, friends, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, don't forget to go visit the Carlos Whittaker Podcast by searching for the show in your podcast app and hitting follow to listen to more of his episodes.
Oh, I love the Carlos Whittaker Podcast. It's so good. I'm so thankful we get to partner with him. Hey, make sure you hit follow here on the after party as well. Stick around. We're coming at you again tomorrow, and we'll continue to share a variety of episodes from all of our network shows. We even have 3 episodes from yesterday you can listen to in case you missed them. So go back and check those out too, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.